Farage versus the bin. The by-election and the probe that won't die. As always, I'm John, Sean, or Yucca, depends on who you're asking.
I'm Chris.
And we are the Blue Collar Workers, where politics matters to you. As you can guess today, I'm going to be talking about the by-election involving Nigel Farage and in my opinion, the personal snafu that he has done to himself. Because it was unnecessary, because the investigation was reopened hours after he returned to Parliament, which is within the legal rights of Parliament to investigate its own. And I'm going to unpack this and the incredible damage a comedian, the intergalactic space warrior, Count Binface, has actually done to Nigel Farage and the Reform Party. When a joke candidate wins 20% of the vote, you know you are in trouble. Considerable trouble. It doesn't matter Nigel won. He was going to win. No one else serious was standing against him.
But the opposition...
The opposition of a Binface...
Of someone that was clearly doing it to ways around...
Kept his fucking deposit. Do you understand how damaging that is, Reform voters? Unfucking believable. But about the mincing I'm going to be doing here, we go over... Chris is going to be doing...
I'm going to cover two little light subjects, and then my one is obviously I'm going after reform as well.
It's a reform day.
Reform day, but I'm going to discuss their lovely 50 billion cut to the welfare budget, and how I think that's going to be perceived. I can sort of understand where he's coming from, but the way he's going about it is going to cause that much backlash. I'll be surprised he has a back left after it.
I genuinely, the reason he's saying 50 billion it cuts in the welfare budget is because they know now that they don't have the points to win. So they're falling back on their form of say whatever we like because we're probably not going to win the next year election.
Just exasperate the truth.
Yeah, absolutely. And I generally think, Chris, that is the problem that people don't understand. Nigel Farage knows now that he's damaged goods. He unquestionably knows this. The by-election has done him some serious wounds. Let's be fair, when the Standards Committee finds Nigel Farage in breach of parliamentary rules, when they find him guilty, he will get suspended for 10 days. There will be 10% of Clacton that will call a by-election. And then we will have the other parties piling in. And that will be where Nigel will probably lose his seat. And when he does, that's the end of reform. And I suspect that that's going to be an October, November kind of vote. They didn't have a huge turnout in the by-election. It wasn't more than, I think, about 37%. I might be wrong about that. But on Thursday night, Nigel got most of the votes in Clacton than he did in 2024. His main rival, the man with the bin on his head, the major parties stayed away, and within hours, the Standard watchdog reopened its investigations in the standards of this whole mess. Tonight, we unpack the by-election Farage triggered, the 5 million gift at the centre of it, and whether this should be a masterstroke or an own goal for reform. Personally, I generally think it's an own goal. I think it has damaged reform more than it needed to. I'm not even a reform, like me and Chris are really much not reform supporters. But what you have to understand is you don't go into this damaging your own party, and that's realistically what he's done. This by-election was absolutely unnecessary.
Literally, I just saw Count Binface received just under 27% of the vote.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which was more than Labour, Lib Dems and Greens. Combined in 2024.
Absolutely. Nigel has won that with 60-something% of the vote, but you have to remember that 60% of the vote is around about 36% of those who could vote did vote. Because Britain has very rarely broken a 40% barrier in terms of those people who come out and vote. More than 60% of the British electorate do not vote year by year, even in general elections. Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
And we wonder why we're stuck with idiots. Come on, people. We need to step up. Even in this case of, it's a simple, do you want him? Yes or no?
No, absolutely. This is why I agree with democracy being mandatory. It would force people to come out. If you're going to get fined, you will vote. Keir Starmer's resignation, announced on the 22nd of June 2026, after a weak local election and internal pressure. Andy Burnham's election to Labour leader, unopposed, becoming Prime Minister on the 20th of July 2026, 7th PM in the decade. Burnham's early priorities, cost of living, ending rough sleeping, devolution, rewiring Britain, North Sea oil gas signals, has done exceptionally well. It has bounced Britain back. Because remember, Keir Starmer had no charisma. He was literally like a fucking brick. I mean, he had the charisma that Chris did when we were talking to Desta. All Google-eyed.
Oh, fuck you.
All Google-eyed.
Fuck
you.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry, I got to get a bit of because I mean, if you haven't seen our money dollar discipline dollars,
yeah, I prefer if you didn't freaking turn around and advertise it that way, you fucking knobhead. Yeah.
And then. Yeah. I'm gonna poke the bear today.
Unlike the British Navy, I will punch back. All right.
But yes, if you haven't seen our discipline dollar, you will do, and you'll understand why I said that Chrissy's a drooling face and resting, oh my God, she's gorgeous, is a perfect indication of what the overall is. He was starstruck, and I understand, but normally he's quite charismatic as an individual. You've all seen him as you've watched our podcast. But Keir Starmer had that face all the time. Like he was completely fucking lost all the time.
I'll call that the dummy look. What the fuck are you on?
Whereas Andy Burnham actually looks like he should be in politics. He knows what he's talking about. He's making contactable effect. He's trying to fix the country in a broken system. Me and Chris think that the entire standing political system of Britain is broken. It needs to be reformed. See, I don't know, you might mention the word reform, and I have to. I'm talking about reforming the system, not the psychopaths in the party of reform. Reform UK has led the nation polls for over a year. Burnham's bounce has closed or reversed that gap. Recent polls show Labour and Reform neck and neck, or Labour slightly ahead. Conservatives are recovering. And this slump is a lot to do with the gift, the probe, and why Farage may quit. I mean, Christopher Harbord, the Thailand-based crypto billionaire and major reform donor, gave Farage $5 million personal gift in early 2024 before Farage became a Clacton MP. Farage's position, unconditional personal gift for a lifetime security, no obligations. To declare because it predates his election and was not political. He has said he could spend it on Ferraris if he wanted to. Critics, Labour, Conservatives and others, should have been registered once he became an MP. Questions about the timing, purpose and the relative support, including things like George Cottrell. If you don't know Chris, George Cottrell is the fuckwit who has been arrested for fraud and calls Nigel Farage daddy.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yep. You can put that exactly where you think it is.
Right in the corruption pile.
Parliamentary committees for standards under Denise Greenberg opened the investigation in May 2026. 7th of July 2026, Farage resigned as an MP, framing it as a people versus the establishment. Says Clacton voters should be the judge, triggering a by-election he will contest. Formal resignation procedures, manner of Northerners, completed quickly, discussed prompts, was then the principal standing of why he did this. The problem we have here is Nigel made this decision. He, in my opinion, made the own goal. There was no need to. If he wanted an establishment versus the people, he could have had that argument when he was forced out by the Standards Committee. The problem being is he didn't want them to use that as ammunition and called the by-election early, which was a fucking mistake. A horrible mistake.
Do you reckon he was trying to get the other parties involved?
Oh yeah, they weren't going to jump. They're not idiots.
I was going to say, literally, I'm just reading a little bit that I got here. It's the strongest ballot election box ever with 34 candidates.
Of course, and none of them were the major parties.
Yeah, and none of them was a major party. So
Labour, Conservatives, Liberal Democrats, Greens, Restore Britain all refused to stand a candidate, calling it a stunt circus or fake by-election. And they're right, because he called it himself.
Was it their way of saying, oh, let the dipstick have his little by-election, see what actually comes of it? We may actually end up having him kicked out of the seat by an independent party.
Yeah, that was entirely possible. But more importantly, Binface won 27%.
You just imagine if Binface actually won.
I'd be shocked. I would be the most. As I said to you in the last podcast we spoke about this, it would have been a very British thing that nearly 30% of the country of Clacton's by-election voted for Count Binface. Would have been huge. A record 34 candidates, mostly independents and novelty acts. The main challenger, Count Binface, comedian John Harvin, in a bin helmet. Previously best performance were tiny. Other names include Lawrence Fox, Reclaim, and the monster raving loony candidates. The flying brick was fucking hilarious. I remember calling them out the other day. The
Flying brick.
I think it was called something the Flying Brick or the Amazing Flying Brick or something. It's really, really funny kind of names, which kind of gives the kind of joke circus that Nigel Farage deserves. He deserves that, in my opinion, Chris. Because of his behaviour involving him becoming a circus. It's cost the country 250 grand in taxpayers' money. Where reformers offered to cover it, the government said that would be illegal. You know, it's illegal for him to do so. So, you know, it's cost the taxpayers £250,000 for Nigel Farage's Vanity Fair. And that's what it is. Farage campaigned on people versus the establishment and immigration and defiance has been an absolute backfire because Labour has sat down and broken the fucking immigration. Yeah? No matter how much the right wing moan about the super fucking dinghy boats, that's been one case.
I said it's only been the one, hasn't it?
Yeah, one so far. And the net migration is in realistically terminal fucking decline. The right have nothing to moan about now. And it's driving the right wingers nuts. It's absolutely driving them nuts. Because
they keep trying to probe it. I know they've the super dinghy, they've all jumped on it like
it's a single fucking thing. The pre-survey elections in Clacton gave Farage 73% and Binface 20%. National sentiment was more mixed. Some polls showed that they wanted Binface hypothetically to beat him across the nation, which would have been fucking hysterical. In my humble opinion, the major parties were right to boycott it. If the Standards Committee kicks him out for 10 days, for 30 days, however long, and there is a by-election called by a recall measure given by the Clacton, and if 30 people voted for fucking Binface, there will be a recall. Because if 27% of the population can vote for Binface, there's going to be 10% who are going to call him back. So he's going to have to fight another by-election. And this time the heavyweights are coming in. Labour, Liberal Democrats, Tories. And I think he with Andy Burnham campaigning on the floor, they might win.
They could do, yeah.
And what is reform without Nigel Farage? Because it still is a one-man band.
It's a dying balloon. A punctured balloon or a punctured tyre, slowly losing wind and being deflated.
I mean, the result nights, on the 13th of August, one of the hottest days of the year so far in some reports, turnout was 44, my apologies, 44.4%, down from 59% in 2024 general election. So I knew it was down, I just didn't know how much. Jesus, the 2024 election was 59%. That's the highest it's been in any kind of history.
Damn.
Yeah, no, that's massive. Because normally Britain, we tend to range between low end 32 up to the 40s.
Well, it just shows people are getting pissed off and starting to actually pay
Yeah,
attention.
no, I agree. Count Binface counted 9,455 votes at 26%. By far his best ever and highest share for a novelty candidate in modern UK history. Everyone else under 500 votes, most lost their deposits. Farage did not attend the count himself, claiming the Essex police warned him of organised campaign to disrupt and degrade the results. Police sources completely dispute this, and they don't say it, but I'll say it. He's talking out of his fucking arse. Because Nigel Farage knew that having a fucking Binface sat next to him on 30% of the votes, nearly 30%, would have been embarrassing for him. Embarrassed. And the man ran because he did not want to be embarrassed. Because he would have been. It'd have been a fucking joke. Farage claimed overwhelming endorsement, criticising call.
So hang on. So the dude that triggered the by-election
Didn't turn up for it.
didn't turn up for the results.
No.
Because he didn't want to be embarrassed by the thing that he
caused.
he caused.
Yep, you've got it, Chris.
I'm sorry, I'll be more embarrassed not turning up to the thing that I started.
There was no demand and humiliated by anybody. He refused to be demeaned and humiliated. And to be fair, I genuinely think that he deserves it. He does. He's an egotistical, tweed-wearing, 5-home-owning, billionaire-gifted fucking establishment. He's about as established as any Conservative leader I've ever seen, Chris. I mean, you put that cunt next to fucking Boris Johnson and you couldn't tell the fuckers apart. I'm serious.
And you wonder why he didn't want to go into the results of the by-election.
Of course. I mean, the more voters than 2024, despite lower turnout and no serious opposition. The strength of the soft underbelly. What does Binface's 27% actually stand for? It stands for that Clacton isn't a home run as he thinks it is. Now put the 4 serious parties on the table, and Nigel, you ain't walking out with 60% of shit. You'll be lucky if you squeeze in 50%.
If it triggers another by-election where then all the other
with Andy turning up campaigning,
with the other main parties coming in as well, I reckon Farage would be lucky to get Binface's percentage.
You see, that's what amazes me. If Binface doesn't stand in the next one, he might do anyway, but say he doesn't stand and the other parties come heavyweight in, they're going to eat a chunk of that 60%. I don't think he'll win. I think everyone voted for Farage because they didn't have a serious party. And there was a lot of voters who had a problem with that. Mm-hmm. They were irritated. But I think many, because my countrymen are not stupid, they know another by-election's coming. The Clacton people know a second by-election is all but inevitable.
Do you reckon everyone was like sort of talking to each other, going,
oh yeah,
right, we need to make sure Binface has enough votes so it triggers another by-election?
Oh yeah, absolutely. 10%. There is, out of 27%, Chris, I can almost bank money. I can put a £50 note on the table. You're a gambling man, I'm not. And that's how rare I would do that. That would say that Binface, at least 10% of Binface's voters will call a by-election. Because if they're willing to back a fucking comedian, they want rid of Nigel Farage.
We back this, we can then turn around and then call for another by-election, which then the other main parties will come in and we actually have a proper choice.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the case. Now,
to be quite honest,
I don't think Binface will get 27% again.
No, I said it'd be lucky if Nigel Farage, if the
yeah, but I don't think Binface. This was a historical moment for a candidate.
But then he could turn around and go, "My job here is done. I triggered an actual proper by-election where the main parties are in."
Oh, of course.
Which I could guarantee you, then someone from one of the major parties would turn around and probably offer him a place to join into that.
I think he should join the fucking Raving Loony Party. I genuinely think Count Binface as the leader of the Raving Loony Party would be hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. I hope he sees our video. I genuinely do. Count Binface, leader of the Monster Raving Loony Party, would be hysterical. It would also give the party a serious chance to upset people like Reform and the Conservative Party. And that would be the most British fucking thing you could do. Because we all know the Monster Raving Loony Party is a joke party. Everyone in Britain does. And then there is a certain level of comicalism when you come to British elections. I mean, other than the 2024 election having 59%, which was fucking unheard of, if you go back and check British elections, they range between 30 to 40% turnout. Which is
everyone's starting to wake up due to the government fucking tax.
Getting rid of Tories. This is what I think that led to.
Getting rid of Tories, but now it's the case of the fact that they'll probably all show up again because of the fact that they're trying to think of stuff that we're not taxed on.
Yeah. Hours after the results, the Office of Parliamentary Commission for Standards confirmed its investigation is not suspended anymore because it was only suspended while he went for a by-election. If he had lost the by-election, then it would have been cancelled. He didn't. He came back. His investigation is back. He will have to go through a Standards Committee recall petition, then be re-elected for it to be wiped. Until such time, it won't be. He tried to play funny fuckers and it failed. Prime Minister Andy Burnham votes have given the answer, but Standards investigation must continue for higher standards in politics. Opposition reacts. Labour doesn't consider it a victory. There are a mountain of questions that are still standing. Personally, the Conservatives think it's a fake by-election with nothing changing, and the Liberal Democrats believe it looks daft. But to be fair, they backed Count Binface. Because it was a very British response. I'm sorry, I can't. I don't think, because we have a few, we probably do have a couple of hundred American viewers on our channel, and you don't understand how comical this is. The by-election shouldn't have been called. Nigel should have fought his case amongst the Standards Committee and then waited for them to trigger it if he wanted a people versus the establishment. Our problem is he didn't want the verdict. He didn't want the recall to be forced on him. His pride got ahead of him. He could have had his argument, the people versus the establishment, if he hadn't jumped the bullet. And that's why I think it's damaged him.
Now he's got to turn around and do it all over again anyway.
And that again, the second by-election is going to damage him.
Yeah.
It's unquestionably going to damage him. I mean, the practical step is that Farage is going to return to Parliament, resuming after summer recess in September, and winning this by-election, I don't think has been that hard for Farage because there was no other opposition. I think it is more telling that he needed an 80% pass, in my opinion, to give the establishment a middle finger, and he didn't. He genuinely didn't. And
barely got 63.
As I'm saying, that was more wounding than he thinks it is.
Do you reckon he also done it to avoid, obviously, all the fucking stupid investigations that gone against him?
He was told, I'm certain he was told in advance, that if you're re-elected, it reopens. Because we have a duty to the body of government. Parliament's Standing Committee is basically the police of Parliament. So if you're the copper of Parliament, your job is to police the Parliament. As much as Parliament is policed. And I know, Britain, that's not a much. The Parliament Subcommittee doesn't have a great deal of powers. But these are some of the few they do. The Reform's national polling has suffered since the Harburn story broke, and especially after Burnham's arrival. Some pollsters warn Reform could slip to third if current trends continue. I believe they are. I believe that, as me and you said, we said this back in January, February, that the Reform had peaked. They peaked last year. They've been on a slow decline, point by point shaving, losing. They're not on a rapid ascension.
And it started declining as the immigration stuff Labour put in.
Yeah, started. And we credit Keir Starmer, the exit Prime Minister. Yeah? Fantastic Foreign Minister. One thing he got right in the country was lower the fucking immigration problems.
He put the red tape up so it turns round and reduced the amount coming in.
So he has done, he did his duty. He had the charisma of a fucking brick.
He should be named the Flying Brick.
It would have added more charisma to him. And the Flying Brick character is a very colourful person. That's one of the reasons why I mentioned him. Clacton remains a personal stronghold for Reform. At the moment. The results show that there is a loyalty in his base. But the limited, broader transition, whilst the gift story is still dominant, and it is still dominant, and talking about 50 billion worth of cuts isn't going to change that. It isn't going to go away.
We'll cover that in a minute.
I mean, and you can see what it is. It's Farage attempting to hide the 5 million gift from a crypto billionaire. No one gives you 5 million, Chris, as a billionaire, and as a politician, you aren't answerable to them. Okay? There's going
to be that little note.
Something's going to come on the table.
Tucked within that 5 million going, if this comes up with me, I want you to pull.
And we've already seen him championing the private market of crypto billionaires and trying to keep the British the British bank away from crypto legislation. You see, we've already had Farage doing that, so we know what the fucker wants. You can see it. Nigel Farage wants the crypto industry to be left alone because his billionaire mate who's funding his party wants it so, and that's what he's bought Farage for. And let's call it what it is. He's bought him.
Here's 5 million. Let's keep Bitcoin.
Yeah.
On the side.
And his own cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
And it genuinely is what it is. You can see it for the writing on the wall. Britain is moving to a centralised crypto banking itself, and Farage is trying to slow it down or stop it. And he has a crypto billion financer who's also given 15 million to the party.
So 5 million to him personally, and then 15 million to the party. So that's 20 million pounds giving to reform, basically.
Yeah.
And you wonder why people have
asking fucking questions.
You're an idiot.
It's the bigger picture is that reform's polls and ratings because of this bribe are not going to go away. When the Standards Committee finishes its investigation...
Especially not now the fact that you couldn't even muster up past 64%
or 44%. No, stop there, Chris. You get back to last year's election numbers. Let's say we get to 59. Where does that other fucking 15% go? That would eat into his base.
Yeah. I say literally on the limited amount that voted on this by-election, you only secured just over 63%, and the satire account Binface scored almost 27. Says to me, your party is in shit doo-doo town.
Farage won 22,000 votes, which is 60% of the 44% of the vote. Yeah. So if you were to add another 10%, Chris, you'd probably add another 5,000 or 6,000 people's votes. Yeah. If we take the 10,000 of Count Binface, add those additional 5,000s and the other, hoovered up, any one major fucking goddamn party could take a chunk out of Farage's vote. It could swing. It could swing very easily. Clacton is not as stronghold as the Reform think it is. Mathematically, if they have the same turnout as 2024 at the next by-election because the serious parties come out...
I reckon they will have that sort of level again because once they realise, oh, hang on, second by-election...
He's failed, he's been found guilty, we've kicked him out, he's had a 10 or 20 day suspension.
Now the other big boys come in to claim seat.
Yeah, we'll see a much big, and it'll be all over the telly. And the older generation tend to watch the telly.
Does that mean fucking Restore will be a part of that as well? Yeah,
and that'll take a chunk out of his arse. Restore gets involved, they'll take a chunk out of that out of those 22,239 votes, Chris. Yeah, that bulk that's Reform. Yeah, I would say 10% of that, 2,000 of that, is going to be swinging to the Restore.
Do you reckon that's because of the fact if Farage turns around and gets found guilty and kicked out for so long, they'll turn around and swing to Restore to keep that side alive until stupid face comes back in?
I genuinely think that Nigel, if we go to a second by-election, of the 22,000 voters that Nigel has, 2.5 of them are going to go to Restore. That is going to eat into his arse. The Conservatives might hoover up another 4,000. Okay? So he's going to lose 6,000 of those 22,000 votes. That's going to bring him down 14, 15,000.
I reckon he'll lose a lot more than that.
Maybe, but I'm being sceptical in that. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying that the Restore are probably 2,000 of his vote.
The only way he keeps those current votes, if another by-election's triggered, is the fact that he's managed to keep his foot in the door somehow.
Yeah, Chris, he's not going to.
Yeah, which I very much doubt. I think he's going to get kicked out the door, and then one of the other major parties is going to come in and swoop in and take.
I think Nigel Farage will Reform UK 22,239 votes. And I want to stress this point. 40% of them could go to the Conservatives. 10% of them could go to the Restore, and then he's left with 60% of 22,000.
It's not very much.
It's not enough. It's not enough to win an election because he's the first past the post. and then whoever hoovers up Count Binface is 10,000. Maybe those 10,000 switch over to Liberals. Maybe they switch over towards Conservative. If they go to Conservative, I predict that Nigel Farage, unless Andy comes and fights in the actual Clacton, then all hands are off. If the Prime Minister enters Clacton, I think Nigel could lose 40% towards Conservatives, 10% to Restore, and another 20% to Andy, because the Andy effect. At which point he's down to 40% of his vote and he's fucked. And that then the percentage that's taken by Andy, the 20% on top of Binface and all the independents, will sweep a Labour electorate into the hold. Because the Conservatives will eat into, and once Nigel's gone, Reform is fucked. Be under no illusions about that.
We're on the verge of seeing Reform collapse.
Absolutely. I think the next by-election, if Andy goes and campaigns for the Clacton by-election Labour leader, and bring Andy Shine, the mayor of the North, to there, and talk in his earthy way, and have a pint, and sit down and have a pasty, and do what he does as a charismatic Northerner. Yeah, he does that. Clacton could turn Labour, absolutely, because it's a working man's fucking town.
I can see that.
Do you know what I'm saying?
If obviously the PM decides to go and do
if the PM goes in, shakes hands, sits down, talks, seen on nation camera, being in Clacton, supporting the Labour supporter, I think Reform is fucked. Because it'll climb into the point of he's been found guilty, which is very hard to be found guilty by the standards committee.
We listened to this PM. Yeah, if you actually watch this, or one of his little followers, one of his
minions,
one of his little minions, which turn around and probably breeze over us. You have a potential to wipe Reform off the map.
And he does that, he will go down as the best Prime Minister we've ever had.
For when Nigel eventually gets booted out for found guilty for corruption, you turn around and wipe Reform. And I can tell you now, if you wipe out Reform, I reckon Restore won't be far behind.
Restore will always. I'm sorry, the genie's out of the bottle in that regard.
I was going to say, if anything, if you
the problem being is Restore is so nutty, that the nut cases will be drawn to them anyway.
And I was going to say, in case if you take out Reform, it will push Restore that far down the list. You'll only hear a whisper from him every now and again.
Oh no, you're going to hear them. They're going to make, because of how ethno-nationalism has grown across the country over the last 20 years, they are still 10% of the white population. They are. I'm afraid we're going to have that conversation.
They'll be there, but they won't be as prominent as what they are now. Of course not,
because at the moment they're supporting Restore a Reform because they think Reform can win, and because the working class are angry. If Andy gets his bonus back, keeps his bounce, shows his charisma, aids comes in for the by-election, he could literally stab up, politically speaking, the Reform Party,
which would fuck up Restore's plan at the same time.
And Restore will be dead in the papers. The possible outcome of a breach is that Farage could be suspended. I think it's almost guaranteed. If they find him in breach, he will be suspended. I think we can assume that.
Then immediately call for the by-election and just watch
the by-election will come because we know that there's at least 27%, as I said earlier, of Count Binface. So we know Clacton will call it.
So literally it'll be a case of when he's found in breach and is suspended.
Yeah.
Another by-election's called, all the major parties come in.
Prime Minister comes and aids the Labour leader.
So it'll either be a case of fact if the PM comes in and boosts.
To be fair, here's a counterproduct. Say that there's a shadowy deal done. So here's something. Yeah, Prime Minister has word given to Kemi Bennock. I won't come down. You shoo them in. She goes down. Public fucking press. All the time. Remember, she's very popular among the right these days.
I was thinking it would be a case of either the PM goes down and he wipes them out, or he turns around, has a quiet word with one of the opposition.
Kemi Bennock.
Turns around and goes, I'll leave that alone for the minute, but you must beat Reform either to the point where they're literally just a little party within your in your area where they just make a tiny bit of noise and that's it, or you wipe them off the map completely. So
I can see Andy's a very political animal. I can see him making a deal with the Conservative leader, and I can't see Kemi turning that deal down.
Yeah. So literally,
because it would return her as the opposition, which is what she needs to do.
So literally, soon as Nigel's found of being wrong, there's only two outcomes. It's either he turns into a very small, minute party, or he's wiped out.
Scary thing is, the third option is he quits politics entirely. Because there is a ceiling. Nigel is constantly angry. He doesn't have this boyish bounce to him because of this bio.
Or if we get him to quit, that's even fucking better.
If he quits, Reform will implode because no one likes any of the other parties. Titch is a coward, yeah, absolute coward. Doesn't engage in any political debating. Just starts making clucking sounds when he's on the sterilised fucking interviews. No one ever pushes back to that cunt. The rest of his party are the failed Tories. They are failed Tories. So, Bruala Servan, Jenkins, they're all failed. Failed fucking Tories. Clinging to what's left of them. And they were elected Conservatives, these defectors. They're elected Conservatives. They weren't elected on a Reform manifesto. They haven't had a by-election themselves. Because they know they'll fucking lose. All of them, because they're hated. They're part of the Farage fucking group. Not Farage, the Boris Johnson fucking group.
Yeah.
They're the ones who fucked our country. The longer term question, can reform professionalism beyond Farage? Does Burnham's centre-left pitch hold against populist right pressure? Yes, it does. And it's proven it has. Because Kemi is catching Reform. Reform is dipping. Labour has leapt ahead a couple of times. It's now a very close race between the three of them. And the pressure on populism doesn't do well. Populism has to be ahead. It has to be, we're doing well in the polls. It has to constantly be ahead. Otherwise, it starts to lag that energy. And once it lags the energy, because it's running, because we've got another 3 years before we have an election. We don't need another general election for 3 years, Chris.
Damn.
You know what I'm saying? I think the earliest realistically is 2028. We're coming to the end of 26, and we're talking earliest, I think, is mid 28, maybe 29.
Which they might hold.
Which they might hold, because it benefits the establishment.
Yeah.
And I don't mean you. We have problems with the establishment anyway, but it benefits the establishment to hold on longer, to bleed off, because very, very soon. Remember, Trump fucks off in 28.
That's very true. Who's going to take over Trump?
And the rest of them aren't that popular. And come November, when the Democrats are going to sweep in November, it's going to be a fucking slaughter for the Republican Party to move a point, because these populisms have parallel. That's why I'm mentioning them. When he is impeached, the British people will see it, and it will be a wake-up call. I predict, politically speaking, the Democrats will wipe the fucking board. The Republicans will be murdered in the Senate when that happens, politically speaking. The Democrats will impeach Donald Trump and his entire administration. Israel will lose enormous amount of clout in Washington. Reforms glow over this side of the Atlantic will die. And that's when Nigel will quit, because he wants to make money. I think Nigel might leave office by December. If the by-election, if the committee drags out, let's say most of September when the Parliament returns, maybe entering into November, yeah, when we're changing venue, possibly November-ish,
End of October,
or end of October maybe, depends on that. I suspect Nigel will be gone, and the reason I think Nigel will be gone is because the fall of Donald does not do Nigel any good over here in Britain. Because what goes on in America echoes in Britain, but in a time lag. And I think Nigel will see the writing on the wall and will jump like a rat abandoning a sinking ship. Because he's more interested in money than he is towards elections. And the crypto billionaire gave him $5 million to stay and said, you don't need to make money. You don't need to make these silly adverts and stand up and commentaries. You know, I've given you $5 million, so now you've got money, go get elected. Safeguard my crypto industry. Because that's what Nigel's been elected for. Nigel's been paid to safeguard the crypto industry.
Which ain't going to work, so the Treasury's frigging working towards that.
Of course, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think that covers much of the by-election from my point of view. I made quite some startling predictions today. I stand by them. Right? If you're wrong, call me back. In 6 months or 4 months, come back to my page, have a look, call me a fucking idiot if you think I am. I freely invite you. If you think I'm wrong about Nigel Farage's futures, return and you can call me an idiot. And hands up, I'll admit it. Over on Chris's side today,
I'm going to start off with a bit of a slightly concerning one, but then I think it's relevant because of the fact, obviously, due to the health. I want this country to thrive and be healthy, so I think this is one that I think you just need to pay attention to, and obviously just adjust accordingly if you take anything. Urgent warning has come from NHS about, obviously, if you take ibuprofen, statins, iron tablets, or naps. I can't pronounce it. I do apologise. That obviously the way you take it might not be to its most efficient way. Literally, it's a case of if you're taking routine medications or tablets like iron or ibuprofen, you might want to ensure that you're taking them properly. And we're not talking about swallowing pills or water or with meals. Peter Throna, I apologise if I butcher your name, from Fill Time on the NHS Register online pharmacy reveals that judging multiple prescriptions can be tricky. However, millions of people, long-term medications could be reducing their effectiveness simply by taking them at the wrong time of day. He's cautioned that not reading the instructions thoroughly can make medicines less potent and increase the likelihood of unwanted side effects. Your thoughts on that?
I tend to take the NHS at face value. And because one of those drugs is something that I'm going to have to start taking, because I have a very high bad cholesterol level, statin, and there is, in the next 10 years, a prospect that I have a 10 or 12% chance of having a heart attack. Yeah, it's scary fucking shit. So, as you know, I'm already dieting. You are aware of how hard I'm working on lowering my weight in general, which by itself will change all these stats. But I tend to take them at face value, which is a bit nerve-wracking to me.
I say, me personally, I've been to doctors before and they've turned around and said that I need to go in statins. I stuck my middle finger up at them and changed my diet, and I dropped it right down, and they were shocked that I'd done it. And I went,
no. Again, the way me and Chris operate in terms of how we encourage each other, it is a very, very big thing of getting your weight in order, Britain. And stop sticking fucking needles in your arm, Britain. Yeah, I love my country very, very dearly, but we should not be using a drug to counter shitty lifestyles.
No, the only thing I would say is if you're using the fat loss drugs, please do your research, do everything else, consult your doctor, do everything that is necessary. That if you do use it, it aids it so you lose the weight you want to faster, so you can then come off it quicker. So I know sometimes it is maybe the only route that will work for you due to medical conditions and everything else. Consult. But when it comes to obviously statins and the sort of drugs that they're saying here, if you end up on them, read up the side effects, do your research, make sure you know when to take them, how to take them, and everything else. If you're going to use them, use it so that it's on the lowest doses possible for the maximum effect and for the least amount of side effects. That's the only thing I'm taking from this lovely little article, is that you double check, triple read the instructions and the guidance, so you actually know that you take them correctly.
Completely.
And if you don't want to take them, then you're going to have to do what I call is the hard choice and adjust your diet. Adjust your way of living. I've done it. I didn't give a crap. I refuse to take medications if I don't bloody need to. I'm in my pissing 40s, so I'm not taking fucking goddamn statins for cholesterol. You can fuck off.
Don't you fucking die on me, you cunt.
No, I ain't fucking dying nothing. I dropped my cholesterol well below the fucking goddamn line, so you can go kiss my ass.
I don't want you fucking dying on me.
I'm not fucking dying nowhere. I'm a stubborn bastard. I'm reaching that century.
I won't. I won't. You think I'll be not driving motorbikes in my 70s? You'll be joking.
Oh, we will be driving motorbikes in the 70s because I'll be the old fucking granddad racing that motorbike in frigging Porsche GT3 RS. Going, come on in, you fucker.
Oh,
I'll probably be the reason.
New electric bandit. The new electric bandit. Maximum speed 90 miles an hour. John clocks it.
Sticks his tail out a bit too far, hits the nose of the Porsche GT3 RS next to him, which happens to be his friend. Ah, shit, I just killed him. But yeah, when it comes to medications and whatnot, also making sure you're taking advice of your doctor and you're reading those instructions to the T. I know it's annoying. I know you're thinking, oh, it's an inconvenience and everything else. Which would you rather do? Take that extra 5 minutes or so to double check and set that into a permanent routine for yourself in your life, or realise that you've been taking them wrong for like 5+ years and the only thing you've done is add more side effects on top of what you already got.
Jesus.
I know which one I'll be doing if I take them, which I'm a stubborn bugger. I will adjust my diet tenfold before doing anything, before taking statins, because I know the side effects of it. Do you know when the side effects are, which puts me off of it straight away?
Go on.
Weight gain.
Ooh. Is that the side effect?
One of the main side effects of statins is weight gain.
Wow.
So the one thing that
that's something I need to avoid.
Yeah, one of the main things it's one of the main things it's meant to help you stop doing is one of the main side effects it has.
Yeah, I definitely want, because I'm working fucking hard to get my weight down. It's nightmarish stuff for me, because I love food. As Chris will say, if there's food on the table, John's trying to shove it in his gob. It's my one kryptonite. I don't drink, I don't smoke. I've given up bad women currently.
I like what you say currently.
Currently, all right? Goth girl and monsters are my weakness, okay? We know this. I have really bad taste in women.
I have a distinct feeling if you manage to get one of the rare, actual, decent goth girls, your
babies. Lots and lots of babies.
Your cardiovascular system will be in top notch.
Oh, absolutely.
The amount of action you do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. which in turn will actually stave off the weight gain. So.
Absolutely. Just that's one of my critical problems. I have really bad taste in women, and I love food.
I like food. I like the wrong types of food. So
so do I. We both do. That's our weakness. You know. That's why we got our start in food. We are food people.
It's like I love my steaks, but
they're bad for you, Chris, when it comes to weight.
But I know for a fact now, if I have a steak, I've got to go for the sirloin because of the fact it's the leanest part of the fucking cow. Yeah. Despite the fact I want to get the fucking T-bone that's fucking sat across the fucking goddamn counter.
So,
right, on to the lovely main topic for me.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to cover, I think, is an interesting and funny one, with a tiny bit of error concern for the other party involved in it. But I just find it a tiny bit funny, the fact that they backtracked on themselves. All right, Reform's lovely, massive 50 billion welfare overhaul to scrap PIP. This is their lovely plan.
It's not going to work.
Reform has set out plans to revolutionise the welfare state that would almost see 3 million people's disabilities and sickness payments withdrawn or modified. Under the plans, Reform will be abolishing personal independent payments and health element of the universal credit for working age adults. The Telegraph reports Reform's Treasury spokesperson, Robert Jenrick, claimed the proposals will cut 50 billion from the welfare bill. How much is the welfare bill?
The welfare bills. Remember, the welfare bill also includes pensions. So when Chris reads this out, remember a lot of that is going to our pensioners. because this is quite often regularly not mentioned.
Well, that's a fucking huge ass bloody thing. They plan on cutting 50 billion. The welfare bill's only 70.
Yeah.
The fuck they doing?
That's why they think that, and the chunk of that, Chris, is mostly on I'm almost certain that the bulk of that is still pensions.
Yeah. He said reform will introduce a new regularly reviewed health secretary allowance that would provide support only for the gravely ill and severely challenged. Labour said 50 billion claim was fantasy economics.
Chris, before you start, 55% of that bill, 55%, more than half of that is pensions. How are they taking 2/3 of the fucking bill?
Hence the reason why Labour said 50 billion claim was fantasy economics.
It was.
And
absolutely. Because that means, in this conversation, if they are to stick to these numbers, we know they won't. If they were, they are taking out of the pension. The pension pot is being attacked.
Yeah. And said stripping people of benefit payments would shift costs onto the employers. Mr. Jarek said 6.9 billion people were receiving disability benefits, but that is not an epidemic of broken backs or lost limbs, as since 2002, the share of work-age people claiming mental health and behavioural conditions has tripled. He may have touched on an actual point there, but I think he's elaborating on the actual number. Under the planned reforms due to be unveiled in detail on Monday, cash payments for low-level conditions would end and be replaced with disability support accounts run by local councils and mayors to cover costs such as equipment, adaptations, transport and personal assistance. And employers could be obliged to pay a return to work cover insurance to fund the cost of the first 2 years after an employee is signed off sick.
Yeah, it's bollocks. They're not going to be able to pull it off.
Mr. Jarek says firms would then have a strong economic incentive to return the employee to work. People who had not returned to work within 2 years go through a single rigorous assessment conducted in person to screen out fictitious and fraudulent claims. Writing in the Telegraph, Mr. Jarrett said, "We will not pretend this is painless. Existing claimants will be reassessed over 3 to 4 years, with estimated that 2.6 million will keep their present cash entitlement in full, while 2.89 million will see theirs modified or withdrawn, concentrated where recent growth has been most explosive." He said the state must be there to support people who need it, but dumping our young people onto welfare isn't compassion, it's neglect. Now see, this is what's pissing me off. That if you notice, just by the tone of this article, the tone on each little sentence coming out of his mouth changes from attack to defence very quickly, trying to twist and entwine the two into one, instead of simply turning and going, we need to adjust the current welfare thing because the latest boom of applicants applying is concerning.
It's mad,
yeah,
of course, and I get that.
It's a simple case of, look, I need to look into this because of the fact, obviously, our claims have skyrocketed at the moment. I need to find out why that is and tackle it. Not, I'm going to cut 50 billion from a 70 billion bill, where over 50% of it is pensions. That's just stupid.
I know, it's mad. Like I said, talking 50 billion is absurd, because 55% of the entire welfare budget is made up of pensions. The maths, it is more than fantasy maths.
This is another play on words from him again. We are not lifting people out of misfortune. We are abandoning them to it and calling it kindness.
Fuck's sake.
Pay attention to what he says, people. He is twisting shit within each other very quickly here, trying to get you to obviously side with them. Mr. Jarrett said the reform proposals will save more than double the 23 billion promised by Kemi Bannock's Conservatives, with 22 billion of the saving coming from changes to disability benefits alone. No, if anything, the 23 billion that Kemi Bannock's Conservatives is planning to achieve is actually probably more achievable. Because if half of that 70 billion is pensions, so that's 35 million, yeah? And she's turning around and cutting 20, she's planning on bringing back 23 billion from it, which will take it to 47. So that's 10, so yeah, roughly 10 billion left after the pensions. That is still a bit of that's a massive cut.
Yeah, of course.
But it's doable under the right conditions and the right support. I.e., Kemi Bannock, make sure you revise your figures and actually make sure everything's in place.
Because I mean, cutting anything in the benefit system really does cut the legs out from the weakest parts of society.
Honestly, I can understand dropping it from 70, it's like 65 or 60, yeah? I can understand that. That's going through, that's fine-tuning processes, weeding out the fraudulent and fictitious little shits, yeah? Taking out the unnecessary, the people which, if Mr. Jarrett is correct, that have been abandoned into it instead of actually helped out, that will weed that out quite quickly, yeah? And that's just by cutting it by 5 to 10 billion straight off the bat. And that's just going through the process, shaving off the stupid steps, refining it, processing it, making it more efficient. Yeah, that's just simple things. You start small, then work to big. These people are playing a very dangerous game of budget. I'm sorry, Reform, you're never going to be able to cut 50 billion because of the fact 35 billion of that 70 billion
is fucking pensions.
Yeah.
And we know that Reform will never attack the elderly because they're the people they're guaranteeing that they want to get voted from.
Yeah. So, your proposal of 50 billion
is pie in the sky.
Fucking stupid. It's fantasy economics. Yeah? I think someone's been playing far too many fantasy games.
Oh, my boy getting savage over there.
I'm sorry, Reform, but your claim alone, I thought, well, that's pushing it. But as soon as you turn around and look at the actual figures, yeah, it is complete fantasy.
It is.
Whatever drugs you're taking, Mr. Jarrett, you need to stop it because it's not affecting your judgments.
The man has no idea how to even remotely look at it, Chris. I find it incredulous.
See, I would, if I was to turn around and look at the welfare budget, the first thing I would do is refine processes. Cut out stupid little bits of red tape. Make the process smoother. Make the process faster. So people that are claiming, it's then turn around and you can then claim justly. Make sure you got the necessary security steps in to make sure that the fictitious, fraudulent little fuckers going through it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
And again, we're not supporting benefit claimers who've spent years on the dole and are trying to have their 9th baby on the fucking dole. Me and Chris despise them. We're tax-paying men. We have been for decades. Okay, we are literally blue-collar people. We've worked non-stop for decades.
Because I know for a fact that obviously some people, even though they get, as we call it, ain't physically capable of doing some jobs. This day and age, you can work from home. You can do stuff from your computer. You become.
Some of the hardest people I've ever met, Chris, in the working world are fucking disabled people.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, you could go into the admin section of stuff, the HR side of stuff. Oh, I fucking hate HR.
So do I. But mostly because I'm always in trouble with them.
Because there's always a route. And I think, if anything, the welfare budget should be there helping you get onto that route. So you're only on it temporarily, so you then turn around and you're more independent. Yeah? I always look to make a person independent for themselves.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah? And hence the reason why one of the security measures I'd put with the welfare is before you get the welfare, I need medical evidence backed from a proper doctor saying why you cannot work. straight off. That'll be the first requirement, straight off, before you go anywhere. As soon as you've done that, done. And when it comes to, obviously, people will go, oh, what about the mentality sides of stuff? Simple. I will turn around, and if someone's claiming, obviously, mental distress or whatever, and they've gone to the doctor, they've got the scientific-based evidence and everything else, I would fund the therapy for a year to get them back into the work environment. I'd rather pay someone's therapy bill for a year than someone not pursuing the therapy option and claiming off welfare for 10 plus years.
And that's the problem. We do have problems.
So the people that turn around and go, oh, what about mental health? I funded the therapy for you to turn around to get better within a year. Maybe 2 or 3 years, obviously depending on the condition, it may need slightly longer. But I would start with the year, then review on a yearly basis.
Yeah.
Because if I cut that 10 years to 5, I've just saved myself 5 years of welfare payments.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because everyone's like, oh, it's the big numbers you need to save. I'll probably only save a quarter of what I would spend over 10 years within those 5 years, but that's still a quarter.
It's the problem we have with the welfare budget is there are too many people who could work, even like jobs, not working. There is also, in my opinion, a barrier that certain jobs just don't want to hire these people. We need to have an incentive for the employer, because I've seen you across a table when you were a manager going, I wouldn't hire them. And 9 times out of 10, you're right, but there is that one where you should be incentivised. Yes, they've been unemployed, they're 22, they've never had a job. You've said, I don't like the fact that they haven't even had a paper round. And you've had that conversation with me when we've been talking about this. We're looking in the food trade. This is going back more than a decade for me and Chris. But the reality is, you should be incentivised. So the job centre then says, Manager Christopher, we will pay his first 6 months' wages while you train him. Now you're interested. You don't even have to pay for the cunt to be trained.
That's free labour for me.
That's 6 months free labour. Even if it's shit labour, you're getting 6 months free labour. And if the kid lasts the 6 months, I promise you, in the environment that me and him worked in, if they're there at month 6, I've beaten them into a fucking cook. I can imagine Chris with that as John, what kind of response? This person's being paid for by the government. Turn them into a grill chef. Cunt. You stand there. Don't move. If the kid has made it 6 months with me, he's a chef. And Chris doesn't have to pay for it. It's a bonus. That's the incentive that you need. You need working incentives. You need to get these long-term unemployed 20-year-olds who have fumbled around and haven't had jobs, and then you just basically need to feed them jobs.
Even if it's a case of the fact you turn around and make it a part of their condition that within the first year of therapy, as soon as the therapist turns around and says you need to get out into the working world,
yeah,
make it so that as soon as that therapist turns around and submit that in writing, you start off with a part-time job. Even if it's 1 day a week, which I could guarantee will turn into more than 1 day a week when they realise they can see a path to not seeing this doctor and being completely stable for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I fundamentally find that any kid that spends enough time in the working environment is given enough support to do so.
But then it's also then aftercare I would then turn around and put in as well. You've been cleared for that year. I then expect you to have a follow-up visit 6 months later, then the year later, and then I'll just ask for 2 more follow-up visits for the following 2 years to make sure everything stays on track.
I think the reality sits in front of everybody in the fact that the welfare budget needs to be reformed in a way that benefits society at large.
I think they just need to go through and they need to just simplify the processes and put in that one massive security measure in place right at the start, which will then turn around and weed out all those fraudulence and everything else. You need that medical exemption proven by the doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Soon as you've got that, we will then turn around and make sure that you helped out. You don't have that, you don't go any further with welfare. And for the ones that go, oh, what if the doctor turn around fraudulently?
The doctors don't. They don't. This is bollocks. Yeah. This is one of these arguments that is genuinely held.
Say the people that make up shit to get that no. Well, it's called an independent committee that governs the doctors. I can't remember the name of it now, but they would lose their license and everything else.
Doctors work so hard to get to where they are. They would never do shit like that.
By the time you're at that level where you're assessing people's health to go onto a welfare budget, which means you're potentially costing the taxpayer money, you're already on high enough paycheck.
I promise you, the doctors who do these jobs do not lie about them because of how politically charged they are.
Politically charged, and the fact that you're in such a high position in the doctor community to start making these decisions, which comes with that fat paycheck. So they're not going to risk that fat paycheck.
No, of course not.
For you.
No, absolutely not. The whole idea is absurd to me, Chris. Simply because I know we know that these people would not do that financially as one point, but more importantly, because of the amount of no, because of the political fucking ramifications. Because benefits is such a political thing, but there are doctors who turn that job down.
Because it's too high stress.
Because it's too high stressed. If you're the doctor who's assessing people for PIPs, you're paid handsomely because of the political stress behind it. You wouldn't even tell your friends, your fellow doctors, you're a PIP doctor because of the fucking problems it comes with. It's absurd. I think people need to understand that these medical professionals that are doing this would never endanger that. They just wouldn't. Because if you've taken the job, and a lot of medical professionals don't, because it's just more, because there's a lot of other jobs you could do with none of that political shit with it.
I was going to say, obviously claiming that, I would make you claiming that obviously medical certificate a two-stage process. You get assessed by your GP, you then get assessed by the specialist. Because the GP has to refer you to that specialist before the specialist then turns around and gives the final stamp before you go onto the welfare.
Yeah, no, Chris, I'm with you.
Because then the GP's going, okay, no problem, before I refer you to this, I need to conduct this section of tests in order to refer it. Yeah? Which then the specialist comes up, right, so you pass the first section, this is the big boy process, you pass this, you then go on to get in the welfare. Which I could guarantee you the fraudsters and everything else won't even make it past stage 2. Because the GPs are
they don't want the fucking aggro.
They are freaking, they will hold the standard to the utmost because of the fact that they're not just dealing with you, they're dealing with usually half the community. So they're not going to turn around and risk their job as a GP. Because the fact they know that many people within the community and the backlash they would get for doing a little underhand action. It would never be financially worthwhile their time. So them trying to cut the welfare budget is just fucking stupid. I think it needs addressing.
Absolutely, yes. No. We're taxpayers. We both know it needs addressing. Yeah,
we know it needs addressing, but I think the way to address it is by simplifying the process and sticking a solid security measure at the start.
Okay, yeah.
Done. It literally, that will resolve 90% of the problems.
But I just think that the idea that the PIP system is the biggest drink on our benefits is bollocks. It has always been the pension. And we need to have that conversation.
I think with the PIP, because of the fact, obviously now the mental side has now come into the picture.
Yeah, no. I'm not denying that there's a problem there.
I think that's where this spike has come from.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why you need that two-stage process to also verify whether it's a case of the fact of someone's actually got. This is not trying to downplay anyone with a mental condition, trying to
game the system,
gain the system. Try to get you on the correct path
To recovery.
Yeah, to recovery, yeah. Whether it's a case of the fact of it's your anxiety and everything else which is causing the spikes, or there's a medical condition turn around and related to it, or the fact that you actually do need to go speak to the therapist properly, yeah. It's a very touchy line to talk about.
And this is why you need the doctors to do it.
Hence the reason why you need the two-stage doctor. First, the GP to turn around and make sure that you tick certain boxes in order to be referred to the specialist, and then the specialist to turn around and then go through in more detail to make sure you're stuck on the correct path. Because the moment you start putting people on the correct direction for them, not for the system, for them, the spike will drop.
Of course. And the grifters, if they know it's too hard for them to maintain, they won't do it.
Yeah. And
I think that's an important factor that we need to be willing to at least address.
Hence the two-step system. If they somehow get past the GP, then they've got to get past the more vigorous one by the specialist.
Exactly. And the argument that these specialist doctors would game the system is absolutely fucking absurd. It's super right-wing fantasy land, because these doctors, 90% of the doctors do not want the political bollocks that comes with it. They don't. They want to do their job's hard enough as it is as a doctor.
Like I say, if you become a doctor, you're classed as one of the peak of the community.
Yeah, you're fucking top of the table.
You're the peak of the community, because in fact you're looking after the community. And in fact, if you then turn around and break the community's trust by taking an underhand payment from one person, you're fucked.
It's the amount of years it takes to be doctors, the amount of education, the intelligence, the problems that goes.
And then the building up of the trust of the community through your education.
It's an absurd idea of right wing dispense politics, and we're not exactly leftists, me and Chris. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah,
we're saying that's balmy, but I believe that comes to the end of today's.
And one last little thing, my one last little story, which I think is quite funny, but it literally sums up the dating world to a T. Yeah, obviously, if you've dabbled within the dating apps of the world, all of you, most of you have most likely heard of Bumble, the one that is turned around and said that will make it so women message first. Yeah. Giving them the power to initiate conversations with men which they may deem attractive, like such and such. Yeah. The fact that they are now, as from, where's the date? I did see the date. As of 5 days ago.
Oh, this is so funny.
Because it was the 11th of August that they've done it. They've now made it so both parties can now turn around and message each other to initiate conversation. So the very premise that they were based upon of women message first has now been taken out. And I can the only thing I could think is the reason why they've done this is to keep up with their competitors on the market.
Because they've been doing so fucking badly.
Yeah. Which, I'm not going to lie, I've dabbled in the dating apps, and man, it's fucking brutal.
I don't even bother. I don't even bother.
I've dabbled in it a little bit, and I'm like, fuck me, people are harsh. I'm like, I'm going back to the old school method, down the pub.
I am, as always, John, Sean, or Yaka, depends on who you're asking.
And I'm Chris. Hope you have a smashing day.
And this is the Blue Collar Workers, where your voice, your views, your matter. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.